I'm Tony Hargreaves. I'm a researcher at Birmingham University, and my research has been based on looking at long-term forecasts for city regions and what that means for sustainability. To do that, we need to have ways of estimating what things will be like in the future based on forecasts of where development would be located. And then that's been converted into estimates of the densities of development, and then into the types of buildings and how much space would be available in areas. And to do that, I've used a method using tiles, which represent buildings of different sizes with different amounts of space, roof space and gardens and so on. And this method has greatly improved the estimates of how energy consumption of buildings would vary from one type of area to another, such as from urban areas to suburbs and the surrounding countryside, depending on the size of the houses. Because if you imagine you can have houses of a particular type, they might be like semi-detached houses, but semi-detached houses in an urban area may be smaller than what they would be in a village, for example, or suburbs. So the next step was then to use the information about the energy consumption and how it varies to see what could be done in terms of improving the efficiency of houses, for example, which areas might be best to target for retrofitting to make the houses more energy efficient. And that could help to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by reducing energy use. Another way to reduce carbon dioxide emissions is to use technologies for renewable energy, such as solar panels and ground source heat pumps, for example. And to do that, we use this method of estimating the variability of the amount of space in urban areas to find what sorts of technologies would be suitable and how many houses are likely to have them in the future, depending on the size of the gardens and roof space. Because if you look around at any urban area in a city, you'll see that all the houses have different amounts of roof space and garden space and so on. So this method helped to get a better estimation of how many houses are likely to have these technologies. And it showed that the forecasts of the government, for example, the Committee for Climate Change, their estimates seem to have overestimated how much energy will be supplied in the future by these types of decentralized technologies. And therefore, this is important for policy making, that it's unlikely that they'll be able to achieve such a reduction in carbon dioxide emissions as what they've previously estimated. But all this method I've described is based on forecasting how the city regions will be in the future, based on how cities have worked in the past. For example, if we build more transport systems and people have the same types of workplaces and make similar sorts of choices about where they live. But in recent years, there's been rapid changes in technology. So the way we work and live is now changing quite quickly. So more people can work remotely. There are now different ways in which we can plan journeys and pay for journeys. So it could be that we could reimagine that cities might work differently in future to what they have in the past. So what we're currently doing is a short study where we're looking at mobility, for example, mobility as a service, where you can plan and pay for journeys as a series of interconnected ways of travelling. For example, you could hire a bike, then go to the railway station, and then get an e-taxi to your destination. And this type of way of travelling may become more common in some urban areas in the future, especially as other technologies such as autonomous vehicles are introduced. But the actual effects of these changes could be much wider. For example, if it's shown that this way of travelling means that people are less likely to own a car and do more of their journeys by other methods of travel, like walking and cycling. So you could imagine if cities have less cars, we could change the way we use streets and make the cities more attractive places to live. So we can reimagine how cities could work differently in the future. But one of the big challenges of that is to have a much more coordinated approach across things like health, environment and transport, so that these technologies are introduced in a way that can benefit the city as a whole. The next step will then be to combine that with the research on the types of buildings, energy and water, so that the cities can be both more livable and also healthier and also sustainable in the use of resources.